Front Porch Art friends, and welcome to our first painting project for April. And we're going to be making this fun cherry blossom painting with watercolors and tempera paints. All right, let's get started. Your kit came with a piece of watercolor paper, some paint, a little cutout of the Jefferson Memorial, an oil pastel. And if this was your first box, you got some watercolor paints. If not, if this is not your first box, go ahead and pull these out from a different project. All right, the first thing we're gonna do is get some water. This is for your watercolor portion of the project. And also maybe a pencil. I like to draw out my branches first before I draw them in with the oil pastel. So if you look at the sample, I drew a big branch in the front. When you look at things in the foreground, which means up front, they're usually bigger. So that's why we're gonna draw a big branch coming out here. And that's the first thing that we're gonna do. Okay, so I think I might start by just sketching it a little bit with a pencil. And it's really just a matter of drawing lines. I'm drawing one line there, adding another one, just like a branch. You can go look at a branch if you need help trying to figure out maybe how big your branch should be or what it looks like. But it's basically just some lines like this that you draw in. And then you're gonna take your oil pastel that came in your kit and you're gonna trace over those lines you just drew. And I like to kind of color it a little bit to go back in, make it look solid. And you know what? If you don't go over the line exactly, that's okay. Because all branches look different. I think I've ever seen two branches that look, you can even go add more branches if you want while you're drawing. Okay, so then you're going to end up with something like that coming out. Okay, now we're going to take our watercolor brush, dip it in some water, and go ahead and just kind of wet the paper around. If you get on top of the oil pastel, that's okay. But we're going to try to go around it, just kind of wetting the paper. Wetting it with our water. Okay. Now I've got the paper all wet. I'm going to go ahead and get my watercolor paints. And I'm going to put a little water in the paint, just to, if it's dry, just to wet it a little bit. And then I'm going to go right over where I just put that water. This is called a wet on wet. And it gives it a softer look, which is what we want for the clouds. So I'm just going back in, putting some color on top of that paint, on top of that water. You see, I'm just getting some more paint. If you paint right over the brown, nothing really happens because it's an oil pastel and it resists the water, but some of the brown might smear a little bit. So I'm just kind of trying not to brush over the branch too much. Okay, I think I like it like that. So I took a paper towel, which is what I always like to have nearby anyway for drying my brush or wiping my hands off. And if you take the paper towel and you go in and you just kind of scrunch it and up and down like this, you're taking off some of the color. And that's going to be our clouds. It's going to give us the look of clouds. See that? All I did was go in and push down and pull up, and it removed some of the blue. So now I have what looks like a cloud sky, a cloudy sky. Okay, well that was easy enough, right? Now, for the next step, we're gonna have to come back because I want you guys to let this dry a little bit before we go in and add our petals. And then we're gonna also add a little tree line. But first, we're just gonna let this dry for a few minutes.